Alright, so, as I promised, my next video was going to be exploring a part of my custom-made law enforcement agents I was going to use in an upcoming campaign as a playtest. And I finished all three of them. I finished the City Watch, and I finished the Huntsman, and I finished the Knights, which are basically all going to be a part of the same organization, and what I'm going to use is as a large city. So, I have it all here. Like I said, it's all there. All done up in 3.5 rules, because it's the only thing I play and the only thing I'll run. I wanted to make each one of these very unique. So the build between the City Watch, the City Huntsman, and the City Knights, none of them are like the other at all. At first I was going to go through with kind of like a grafted or partially undead theme, but I decided not to because that would have grown old quick, and it would have actually centralized the campaign into being undead, knowledge religion, and the like. So I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to be able to make these so I could reuse them. So the way I do my NPC stats is unlike anyone else that at least I know of anywhere. Years ago I created a method that would allow me to create a character fast and to have it a little balanced on the heavier side of being fair, meaning that the numbers were tilted more towards the NPCs than it would be like normally through a point buy or through the regulation 46. Drop the lowest and reroll ones. I know that's a part of the actual real rules, but I've never actually used that rule unless I specifically wanted to design a campaign around that. So what I did was I used what I call my NPC stat rules. What it is it is 3d6 of any type, be they numbers or pips, and you roll these, and no matter what you get, you add the highest number you roll and the lowest number you roll. And no matter what they are, no stat can be above an 18. I at least made that rule. But I also made it so where if you had the worst of luck and rolled 3 ones, you would end up with a 2. With that number, you add a 10 to it. So if you, just by chance, you rolled 3 ones, there's no reroll. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 10 is 12. That is a full stat, and then you would be stuck with a 12. But this particular rolling system does not... it doesn't lend to doing that very often at all. In the same aspects, rolling all 3 6s, I have a special rule for it. Because I worked it up once with an old friend of mine, that rolling 3 6s on 3d6 is about 212 to 1. So it's pretty stiff odds. So the rule that I made was if you rolled 3 6s and I was there to witness it, it's just, if I was going to let you go, let my players use the NPC rules, that you would get 2 18s out of it, not just 1. It's because the numbers are so stiff in odds. But normally using only 3d6 makes a more powerful character even at base, because generally you're going to end up with, just for example, I rolled a 5, a 2, and a 1. 5 plus 1 is 6, 6 plus 10 is 16. For a starting level character, using the old 4d6 drop the lowest reroll 1 method the way you're supposed to, or the expanded, the big 5d6, rolling, 16 is actually a pretty decent stat for a beginning level character. So yeah, my NPCs do end up being more hefty than normal, but it's only because I also use a house rule to balance that out for my players as well as them. So his stats are Strength 18, Dex 14, Con 16, Intelligence 16, Wisdom 16, and Charisma 16. These stats, I don't, whenever I roll the stats like this, unless I'm making an NPC physically for me to be able to run as part of the party, I don't include the level increase that he would have got at 4th, since he's a 5th level character. But he's a human. I made them, because there'll be a lot of these guys, I made him Fighter 4 and Cleric 1. There's a very specific reason I did that. They're about 18 years old, about 6 foot, about 200 pounds. That's pretty tall and pretty big for a human, but since I wanted them to be rather imposing and to be able to give really decent imagery whenever you see, like, you know, a whole cadre of these guys walking down the street, or even, you know, like a normal 3-pack walking down the street, you know that taking them on, you know, wasn't going to be easy. So I did average hit points, giving them 44. Their speed's a 20 due to the fact that they are in full plate. And what really sets them apart is the way I did the feats. In another video, I will explain how I have a house rule that gives you a 0th level feat. I'm not going to go into it now, but suffice to say that all my NPCs get it, all my players get it. So, the feats that I gave them come directly out of the Libris Mortis. That was the book that I showed you from before. I'm really proud that I actually got a hold of that book. They have a feat progression that deals with people that, yeah, were basically exposed to too much necromantic and negative energy, or around necromancers far too long. That's why I mixed it with Cleric, because these guys are specifically tied to the deity that I'm going to be having be more prominent in this particular campaign than any others, and it's not a prominent or well-known Greyhawk deity. It comes right out of the Libris Mortis. I've never seen this anywhere else but this book, and its name is Aflux. So for those of you who don't know the emblem, it is a blood drop that has been chained. It's a rather nasty deity, actually. There are worse in here, oddly enough, but I'm going to use Aflux as part of a campaign mechanic. So I gave them Tomb-Tainted Soul, Tomb-Born Vitality, Tomb-Born Fortitude, and Tomb-Born Resilience. These are 4 feats directly out of that book. What it basically does is give them some minor undead traits. So if you can imagine a normal City Watch guy who is highly trained with the weapon that he carries, which is going to end up being a short sword due to the fact that that's Aflux's, you know, clerical weapon. They are healed by negative energy and they are hurt by positive energy like a normal undead would be. They no longer need to sleep, but they must still rest for 8 hours, especially these guys, because they still have to regain their spells. But the difference between sleeping and eating sleeping and resting, I should say, is huge in D&D. So they no longer need food. They're immune to sleep effects. There is, excuse me, it's a little late. There is a 25% chance to resist critical hits and sneak attacks. There's no death by massive damage, and they get a +2 versus mind-affecting spells, abilities, poisons, and diseases. The reason they're like this is because I also wanted to give them something very, very unique that was going to make them, like, identifiable. That is, I gave them an undead graft. Their right arm is not normal by any stretch of the imagination. It takes a very decently leveled necromancer, be it cleric, you know, divine or arcane, to be able to do undead grafts, but they were unique enough for me to go ahead and throw them into this campaign. And what each the City Watch actually have are zombie arms. The right arm is actually zombified. It's identifiable, it's unmistakable, and it's only hideable under, you know, thick clothing and cloaks. That gives them a D6 for a slam attack, which is going to be the primary attack for the most part. They also have +1 full plate, +1 heavy steel shield, and they have a very few spells that I picked out that they're all just basically going to have, so that I don't have to go through with the cleric spells for each and every City Watch guy. Now the thing is, they are lawful evil. I made that specifically so that I could use them in other campaigns. So I was just going to make them like, you know, neutral evil. Like I decided to make the Huntsman. These guys would be very, very geocentric in keeping them in like an undead campaign. And I don't want to do that. I want to have these guys like show up later, even for some of my bigger games, because it would be, oh hey, what is this? You know. The thing is, with all the tomb-tainted and tomb-born feats, is it changes their appearance somewhat. So they're gaunt, they're pale, they have no hair, their eyes are gray, but they're still rather imposing for size, weight, and what they can, you know, their capabilities of doing. These City Watch guys are actually going to be, they're still fully sentient. They're not undead in the stereotypical, you know, unintelligent way at all. I even gave them Profession City Watch, so they're going to have, you know, if you ever, for whatever reason, down one, they'll have a purse with some, you know, gold in it, because they were basically making a living. But I wanted to make these guys unique, and the Libris Mortis helped a whole lot. I did have to go digging for the other two, or the other three features, I should say, and I settled on Weapon Focus Slam, Combat Casting, and Weapon Specialization Slam. Only because I may as well go ahead and make use of the fact that they do a D6 slam attack, which is natural, and it'll now be +4 from their strength and +2 from weapon speciality, from being a 4th level or higher fighter. So, you know, why not? Yeah, throwing these guys in like a 3-pack or a 6-pack or worse, a 12-pack, a whole like, you know, platoon worth of them, can make things really, really interesting, especially for low-level campaigns. Oddly enough, the Undead Graft doesn't change their challenge rating or the level adjustment, because it's just a GP cost, basically. So the city officials invested money into these guys in order to make them something unique and heavy-hitting, for lack of a better term. So yeah, those are the City Watch guys that can like show up in mass. They're 5th level. So I can keep them around, even literally like a 1st level campaign. You know, you of course would be suicide to go pick a fight with one of these guys, even if you were a whole like party of 5 people. You know, what you're supposed to have in D&D is a party of 5 different people that would equal a challenge rating of the average challenge rating of the group. You know, even 5 1st level characters would get slaughtered by these guys. They do too much damage. It can soak too much damage too fast, too quick, over too long a period of time. And they can cast. And there's minor stuff, but it's like inflict minor wounds, light, virtue, summon undead 1, which means they can call, like, you know, a skeleton or a small zombie to fight for them for a period of minutes. And Chill of the Grave I gave them. It's kind of like Ray of Frost, only it's not. It's something different. It came out of Libris Mortis, actually. So, there you go. Other things I've been doing have been breaking down my my big map that I made. The one I talked about, the town of Briarglen. I broke it down, and I'm going by district, piece by piece. I'm adding smaller districts in between, and I'm creating a whole backstory for them. And right now, I'm creating a master list, actually, of randomly rolled, like, buildings or businesses or whatever, that I can literally just like randomly roll and set exactly where I want it in the town, and then, you know, build it from, you know, by hand. So that's what I'm doing now. And next video, sorry for the, I still don't have enough time to actually sit down with my computer, fight with it, and then get my channel properly done with the editing. That's why I yawn, I stammer, I stutter, I have a hoarse voice by the end of it. I'm still just doing direct uploads. Next time I will talk about the City Huntsmen, which are kind of like, I don't know, you know, officially hired like bounty hunters or executioners for the particular city, and I made them relatively nasty, so that if you ever got one called on you, there would be a reason, and I would feel no remorse for any of my PCs. So until next video, grab your dice, roll initiative.